Georgia Virtue presents the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong podcast. Thank you for downloading episode 328. This week we have Tales of Costa Rica, an update on Hamby, Obama leading the Democratic Party, the black man, partying in Milwaukee, the computer glitch felt around the world, the bucket of food not from KFC, money in politics, and California dreaming. I'm Dave Roberts. With me is my partner in this endeavor, Commissioner-elect Ken Pullen.
Yeah, I'm surprised we can even have the show today with the software glitch that occurred. I don't think it affected many normal users, but good Lord, it shut down a ton of stuff.
Not as ordinary people.
No, but yeah, good times. Yeah, but just got back, like you said. I think both of us were on Delta flights over the last couple of weeks. We went down to Costa Rica on vacation as a family, and you went to Canada, eh?
I did, eh? I know you didn't listen to the last show. I told everybody on the last show I got detained going into Canada because there's a person with my name, David Roberts, born on my birth date.
Oh, very nice.
That committed a crime in 2001 and was expelled from the country.
Oh.
So I got thrown into, and I won't say lockup. I wasn't behind bars, but I was in a detention area with a damn car service waiting outside. I'm sitting around. Connie and I are the only like Americans in there. You know, everybody else is from somewhere else. I don't know if they're on terrorist watch lists or whatever. But dude finally talked to me and he realized that the middle name's different. That I'm David Patrick Roberts, and thank God my parents gave me a middle name, or else I'd still be sitting in Canada somewhere.
Yeah, so Costa Rica was nice, though. Yeah,
you got upgraded without your wife.
I did. Yeah, we probably shouldn't tell people that, but yeah, I got upgraded to first on going and coming just myself. So my wife had the pleasure of sitting in the back in between my two kids. So I think I'm still taking a little bit of heat from that by not exchanging seats with her.
You know, I've also heard sometimes they won't do that.
Look,
they won't let you flip. Is it'll go
That's
to
what
the next person on the priority list.
That was my story. Look,
and you're sticking to it.
Yeah, I mean, look, Shelby sleeps almost the entire flight. So I said, "What's the point in sleeping in first class? You can sleep, in the back of the plane." So that was my logic behind not exchanging seats.
Yeah. When I flew non-rev, and you and I both have flight benefits still, but it's just non-rev. Not for those who don't know, it means non-revenue.
Yeah,
it means it's free essentially. We pay the taxes on it, but that's it. It's unusable now. But I remember getting a girlfriend upgraded. She was in coach, I was in first, and I told her, I said, give me your seat number. All right, just sit there, just chill. And then when the door closed, there was an open seat, and I said, would you mind? My girlfriend is in 23B or whatever it was, and and back then the flight attendant knew I was a non-rev, so went back and got her and sat her next to me. But that just doesn't happen anymore.
Mm-mm. No, not at all.
And I buy first class tickets. I don't wait to upgrade, and it's mostly because I'm fat and they're more comfortable. Plus, with Connie's a back patient, it is
a lot more comfortable.
Yeah,
it's a totally different experience flying. Well,
she arrives much better off than trying to cram in a coach seat where she doesn't have room to move around, because the big thing with the nerves in her back with sciatica and stuff is she needs to be able to move around, and coach seats just don't have the room for that.
Nope.
But your kids are little. I mean,
little,
they're fine.
They're 17 and 19.
I didn't say young. I said, they are young, but I'm talking.
They're unaware. They're unaware of the advantages of flying up front.
As I was talking to a friend of mine about, I got some Blantons in airline bottles. It's a brand of bourbon, and I said I called them anti-sobriety hand grenades because they're round just like the big bottle of Blanton's is. So I said I saw some guys drinking Jim Beam or something at the butcher shop I go to. And I said, man, I'm going to go get those guys a couple of those little bottles of Blanton's so they can have some decent bourbon. And my buddy's like, why would you do that? if they're happy drinking Jim Beam and that's in their price range, why would you introduce them to something that they
That's a great point.
they can't afford?
Oh, no doubt. Great point.
But it's an elitist point. I mean, like I said, we buy the tickets we want. I don't pray for upgrades because I don't have platinum status like you do.
It's going away soon, though, unfortunately.
So we got an update on Theodore Hamby, little Teddy. The ethics committee found him, I guess, guilty or culpable or guilty. I don't know if they used the word guilty. The ethics committee has no teeth. So basically, what they asked for is an apology. Yep. And this is the story we covered last week about Theodore Hamby, who was selling his endorsement. You and I covered it several weeks ago when this first came up. And then there was an update last week, because obviously Jessica keeps a close eye on this stuff. And now the ethics committee has said that he'll be reprimanded and asked to apologize, but the committee has absolutely no teeth. And, I guess he's duly elected, and the people elected him. It probably should take more than just being a dipstick to throw somebody out of office.
Yeah, I mean, I think on all that stuff, unless it's some kind of, I mean, I think they just said, I think they turned it back over to the voters at this point. And I know Theodore well from politics and stuff. So I actually copied his campaign sign when I ran for office. But look, I mean, he's got a job to do down there. He's got to figure out if he can do it effectively. And if he can, go out and work hard for the taxpayers and learn from this experience, I think, which is what's key.
He changed his stances after he got into office, and that's a problem. And I know there are a lot of people who don't like Newt Gingrich.
Who hadn't done that before?
Yeah, I know. I know people don't like some people don't like Newt Gingrich, but what he did, and we've said it before, is the contract with America. Is he wrote down, this is what we want to accomplish if you elect me and I'm elected speaker. This is our plan, yep. And I wish more politicians would make that contract with their constituents.
I do too. It's amazing. I mean, it's in all walks of life. You got to have a plan. We just had in the county I live in, we had the Georgia Department of Revenue come in and give our local tax assessor and tax board a consent order because they basically hadn't been following the rules that the state puts in place for appraising properties. And the key, like you just said, is having a plan. I feel like when you get in trouble, you got to revert back to the basics and do the basics right and come up with a plan on how you're going to move forward. And so many people just skip over those real, not easy steps, but steps to say, this is how we're going to, make it very simple, but come up with a plan on how you move forward. And that's what we've got to do down in Pike County is just simple stuff like come up with a plan on how we're going to ensure that we're appraising every home at least once every 3 years. It sounds simple, but it obviously hasn't been for the past 10 years.
Well, having that plan can bite you also. The no new taxes by 41.
I know.
It was the Democrats that were pushing this tax, and he signed off on it, and then they turned around and hung it around his neck. And that's honestly when the Clinton campaign kept running the no, read my lips over and over and over. It was very impactful because he broke his contract that he made with the electorate. And honestly, there was candidate fatigue at that point. He'd been vice president for 8 years, and there was candidate fatigue. So it wasn't just a no new taxes thing, but the Clinton campaign did a very good job of just hitting him over the head with that statement over and over again. I mean, it was a brilliant campaign move. I'm not saying that I'm a fan of Clinton, but that was a very, very smart campaign move. And just like I said, Raphael Warnock made very good campaign ads and things like that. So I can appreciate the quality of material that is put out without actually liking the candidate. Speaking of, Obama lowers the boom.
I think we've talked about this. I thought all along that the only person that could get Joe Biden out of the race would be Barack Obama. So word has come out last week that he is the one speaking up now, and he's pulling a lot of strings. behind the curtain with trying to get Biden to drop out. And last Thursday it came out that, and unfortunately we're recording on Friday, so who knows what's going to happen over the weekend. But last Thursday it came out that Biden may be thinking about stepping down over the weekend. So it's going to be really interesting if he does.
Well, the rumor is not that he's going to step down; it's that he's not going to run.
Yeah, he's not going to run. He's not going to run for re-election.
Yeah, a la 1968. I will not seek nor will I accept the nomination by my party to run for president again. LBJ 1968.
Look, and I think the reason he's doing that, well, there's a couple of things. I don't think he wants to step down now or just quit now being president, because nobody likes Kamala Harris, and he knows that if he just said, okay, I'm done, then Kamala would become president, and nobody likes her. I don't even think her, what did she get, less than 1% in the Democrat primary last year or a couple of years ago?
She lost her home state of California to Joe Biden.
Yes. So I think that's the challenge, is he needs to step away, but people are going, hey, if you're stepping away, then you probably just need to go ahead and quit. But nobody wants him to quit because they don't want Kamala in charge. So the reporting last week is he will not resign, but he'll just say he's not running again. And then, but he will not endorse Kamala Harris. And then the convention that's coming up in a couple of weeks, the Democratic convention, it's just going to be an open convention with Kamala Harris and about 3 other people that have been mentioned. And this is like Andy Beshear, Shapiro, who is the governor of Pennsylvania. So it would probably be Gavin Newsom would be in there. Gretchen Whitmire from Michigan would be in there. So it would be so intriguing if we got an open primary or an open convention for the Democrats. I can't imagine what that would be like.
I don't know that Governor Greasy would have a chance against Trump, and I don't think he wants to run against Trump, especially in this populist mood that we're in. I don't think that Newsom. I think Newsom wants to wait till Trump is completely out of the picture to run.
I do too. I think what's happening is, I think, go ahead.
And Gretchen Whitmer, if she's an idiot, she is. I can't believe that Michigan reelected her. I cannot believe, after what she pulled during COVID, and I've said it on the show many times. She came out with a policy that you could go on the lakes in a rowboat or sailboat, but you couldn't use a power boat. And this was during and using COVID as an excuse.
Yeah, that's terrible.
You don't catch COVID from diesel fumes or from gasoline fumes. You catch it from someone who's infected. So she was absurd with it.
Yeah, these people, look, I think these people are looking at it too, going, Trump is. The assassination attempt made him even more popular. So do we give up like a Gavin Newsom or any, I don't even know if they have to give up I guess they don't have to give up their governorship. But no. I guess if they ran for, I'm not sure. I think if they ran for president, they would have to step down from governor. Nope. So they could stay governor and run for president in November.
J.D. Vance is still a senator. Now, will he step away from his duties?
No, he's got to step away. No, because there's going to be a special appointment to his position. So he's done with being a senator. If Trump loses, he's done with the job.
Well, it's you have,
but I don't know how it is with governors, though. I don't know about the governors on what the requirement is.
Being a state position versus federal.
Yeah, but J.D. Vance is done. There's going to be a special appointment by the governor up in Ohio for his seat.
But you're absolutely right, and Obama saw the pictures too. And look, I do not agree with Obama's politics, but he is an astute politician and observer, and he saw that picture with Trump raising his fist, with blood running down his cheek, with the flag behind him. Goes, Joe can't beat him.
No, but I think what they're wondering is, can anybody beat them this year? So do we want to sacrifice one of our up-and-coming what they call their political stars, right? Do we want to sacrifice one of them this year, or do we just want to sit back and go, Biden, you take one for the team, you go out and lose to Trump, and then 4 years later we'll figure out how to move forward.
And that's honestly, that's what they were trying to do 4 years ago during COVID.
Yep.
Is no one anticipated COVID happening, besides the Chinese, obviously. No one anticipated being able to run a campaign from the basement. No one thought it was possible. Then no one thought, because the economy was roaring. You go back to the old quote: "It's the economy, stupid." The economy was roaring. Taxes were down. People's bank accounts were were more flush. And they kind of threw Joe Biden up there as a sacrificial lamb. And just like you're saying, don't burn somebody off our bench by going up against somebody who is not going to be defeated. And no one was more shocked about him winning the White House than Joe Biden was. And he probably shocked every morning when he says, "Where am I?" And they say, "Mr. President, you're in the White House." You know, huh? I'm the president?
It's gonna be
I don't mean to make fun of dementia.
No,
but
yeah, but everybody knows. Yeah, look, I mean, I think everybody knows right now that the Biden family is the only one keeping Biden in. It's his wife, and it's his son, and it's his crackhead son's wife that are keeping Joe in. They're telling Joe to stay in because nobody else is. Like, if you've got 20, I think it's 25 or 30 elected congressmen or senators in Washington, along with Obama, that are telling Joe to drop out. Can you imagine how many behind the scenes are telling him to drop out? It's got to be a huge number.
Clooney. What are the
Clooney made a TV ad for the Republicans.
I mean, I don't know that endorsements carry a lot of weight, but I know when somebody like that who is a liberal elite, and honestly, I like George Clooney movies. I mean, I like the stuff that he puts out for the most part. But when you have somebody who was holding a fundraiser for you come out and say he's not the Joe I met, that's damning.
Yep.
And a good example is the next story, that Biden forgot Lloyd Austin's name.
I know, this was last week again. I mean, he forgot the name of his own Secretary of Defense last Wednesday, and he referred to Lloyd Austin. He was trying to remember his name, but he just referred to him as the black man in an interview with BET. So he's talking with BET, which is Black Entertainment Television, and he can't remember the name of the guy he appointed to Secretary of Defense, and he just calls him the black man. Yeah.
First of all, if you want a drinking game, and I saw this on Facebook, I can't remember which one of my friends put it up there, that every time Joe Biden says anyways, because that's what he does when he loses where he is. He just says anyway.
Just trails off. He says anyways and just trails off.
Yeah, is every time he says anyway, you take a shot, and you'd be torn up in about 10 minutes of him speaking.
Oh, no doubt.
Ah, man, I don't particularly like Lloyd Austin, and I despise General Milley. I think that after the Afghanistan withdrawal, Milley should give up his tabs. He has a Special Forces tab and a Ranger tab, and I think he should have to give those up because he left people on the ground. He violated his oath.
Yep, no doubt.
So, but I also don't refer to Lloyd Austin as the black guy.
The black man, yeah. So again, it just shows that Biden, I mean, it's sad at this point. And I think it's sad that everybody knows how bad a shape Biden is in, and he just will not get out.
And I don't think that Biden is racist. I don't think he was making a racist statement. I really don't. But he was caught when he's off script, when he's reading a script, he's not a great speaker. But he was at a loss. And first of all, the interviewer at BET could have helped him out and say, Lloyd Austin.
Lloyd Austin. He could definitely help him out.
He could have helped him out a little bit. And it's not their job to do it. They're allowing him to make his pitch to
they're allowing him
the black
to hang
community.
Himself. Yeah. But
they left him out there to dry. And look, journalists should do that. If you have a politician talking, let the politician talk. They're going to hang themselves.
I don't know if you saw this week, but the ladies of The View, not that I watched The View, but they said that there's a poll that was released last week that shows 30% of black women are rethinking who they're voting for president this year. 30%. And they were just perplexed on the results of those polls. But think if the number's not 30%, but it's just 10%. I mean, if 10% of black women decide to vote Republican this year, it changes. I mean, Trump wins it
or independent or skip the race altogether.
Yes, either one of those.
Yeah, you're taking one of the legs off the platform. You know, if I were on the Trump team, I would be running ads on BET and, you know, I don't know, during Medea, whatever. And, you know, not to sound stereotypical white guy, but I'd be running the ad with Joe Biden's own role, saying, if you don't vote for me, you ain't black.
Yeah, and I thought what was so funny about The View, or it was either The View or MSNBC, even talking about this poll, is to me it's kind of a backdoor way of them trying to pressure Joe Biden out of the race. So normally they would never bring up a poll like that, but to me they brought that poll up as more evidence that he needs to drop out. Not, you know, it's like they're not crying over this. They want the dude out of there. They want him to step down, and they want somebody to step in that's got a better chance against Republicans next year.
And look, they despise Trump so much they would vote for Satan himself before casting a vote for Trump. They despise the man, which is amazing to me because you see all the people that he's interacted with over the years. Doing an interview years and years ago with Oprah, and
yeah,
you know,
I saw that.
He obviously they didn't show this at the convention, but he was casual friends with the Clintons. He was also casual friends with Reagan.
Yep.
But as a businessman, it didn't matter who was in charge. He, of course, would have to go kiss the ring because he wants to be able to stay in business.
Yeah, smart businessman does that.
People aren't white, black, Hispanic to a business owner. I can tell you that firsthand. Everybody's green. And
no doubt.
And there is no left. There's no right. Everything's green. Is his ultimate goal was pushing, you know, Trump Corporation forward, and if that meant working with Clintons, fine. If it meant working with Reagan, fine. So we have the kind of a few highlights from the convention.
Yeah, what'd you think about the VP pick last week with J.D. Vance?
I thought it was brilliant.
From Ohio.
I thought it was brilliant. I also saw on the last night of the convention, you know, everybody comes on the stage, you know, the family plus, you know, the Vance family came on the stage, and someone was doing, one of the Ohio delegates was doing the Ohio hand signs. You know, you put, you know, the O above your head and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And he did it back, and I thought that was very humanizing. I think that JD Vance, his wife is fantastic. You can't call him a racist.
No, he's from no, and he wrote the book Hillbilly Elegy, which my wife was actually watching a movie last week after she realized that he wrote the book. Look, the guy's a lawyer, an author, a U.S. Marine veteran, junior senator, and Yale, and he was actually roommates with State Senator Josh McClaren. I like to always, we always like to bring Josh's name into play, but yeah, I mean, he went to Yale and super smart, well spoken. Was not a Trump fan, no. I mean, the biggest
he was not a Trump fan.
Yeah, you remember back in 2016, he was not a Trump fan.
And look, he's a good looking dude.
Yeah, he is.
He is a lot of what Trump is not. He's young. Trump's energetic especially for being 78 years old. He's extremely energetic. But I think what that does for the ticket, and people generally don't vote for vice president, but you're gonna see somebody who is very smart. There's no way they can run Harris up against him in a debate. There's just no way. There's no way they agreed to it.
She said she agreed to 3 dates so far. I'm not sure there'll ever be a. And what was funny is the Trump campaign came back and said, or the National Republican Party came back and said, we're not agreeing to any debates because we don't know who the vice presidential pick will be at this point,
right?
Which was pretty funny.
Look, he would hammer Harris. He would destroy Harris. And it's not sexist for me to say it. She is not the sharpest tool in the shed.
Yeah,
you know,
she's not. Yeah.
Yeah, she's smart. She's sharp as a spoon. You know, she will go on air and yuck it up and make no sense, and you can't even blame her sounding like an idiot on dementia. she just has never been all that bright. And I understand she was attorney general in California, right?
Yep, she was. She was a district attorney in San Francisco, and then she was what you just said, attorney general in California.
Yeah, but then she gets in front of the cameras, and look, she may be intellectually smart, book smart, and obviously if you get your JD, you have to have something upstairs to pass the bar and all that. But she gets on TV and goes, who doesn't love a yellow school bus? And people don't like her, and she has to learn to be okay with it. Look, when Dan Quayle left the Naval Observatory where the vice president lives, when he left in '93, you didn't hear anything else from him.
Right.
He knew that stupid thing where he put an E on the end of potato would weigh over him, and he retired from politics, and I'm sure he's happier for it.
Yeah, I bet.
But speaking of people who were never in the Trump camp, you have Nikki Haley endorsed Trump and spoke at the convention, and I thought that was very nice on both parts. That Trump accepted having her there, and he was there every day of the convention.
I couldn't get it. That was the one thing we talked about it earlier. I couldn't get over that. I watched bits and pieces of all 3 days. Trump was basically he was front row in the convention for 3 days in a row, and I couldn't get over it. And a lot of times candidates will come to third day. They're not out there hanging out and mingling with everybody for 3 straight days, but he actually stood in there. I thought the Nikki Haley stuff was pretty funny because she said that Trump invited her to speak at the convention. It came out afterwards that she called and asked to speak at the convention to endorse Trump. So I thought that was pretty funny. I am not a Nikki Haley fan, but yes, she did. I mean, she's got a lot of voters out there. She even, she hung in there to the end. She's got a pretty big following, and most of her followers were sort of never Trumpers. So it'll be interesting if she is able to get her people to vote Trump coming up in the fall. And I assume most of them will.
She's a warmonger.
Oh, big time. Yeah, big time.
And when I was a young man, I was a hawk. I was very hawkish. But as the old man that I am now, I'm a dove. If we can at all avoid sending our young people off to fight, we need to do that.
100%. Yeah, I'm like you. I've got a 17 and 19-year-old. The last thing I want them to do is end up in Afghanistan or Ukraine or some other foreign country fighting somebody else's war.
Right, and I'm tired of fighting other people's wars.
Yep.
So it's odd to have a Republican running that's a dove.
I know.
He started no new wars, got us out of a couple of them, except for a standard presence in the area, just to protect our own interests. I think
Trump thinks he throws. I think Trump thinks he's strong from a foreign policy perspective, and if you are strong, you don't need to be in all this stuff. Like you can, just being strong and powerful lends itself to not having a bunch of incidents light up all around the world.
Well, he uses the pocketbook to punish countries.
Yeah, right.
So Russia, you keep attacking Ukraine. You know what? We're going to put a 300% tariff on oil from Russia. And then they're like, oh, yeah, we don't want that. So the weapon of the 21st century is the dollar.
Yeah, it is.
And when properly wielded, you don't need to fire a shot.
Yep.
You can cripple somebody financially because the U.S. is such a big market for imported goods that if you either ban the import or put such a tariff on it that it's unaffordable, that hurts that country, and they know that's who Trump is.
Yep. And then a couple other things. I don't know if you were watching last night, but Tucker Carlson spoke. He was pretty awesome. He did a great job. I thought Hulk Hogan came out and ripped his shirt apart, had a Trump Vance T-shirt on behind it. And then Peter Navarro spoke. This is the guy that actually went to jail and served 4 months back in March for defying a congressional subpoena. And he completed that sentence Wednesday. And he came out and spoke, and he said, he kind of joked, but he said in his address to the convention, he told attendees, "I know you just want to see if I got a MAGA tattoo while I was in there," which is pretty funny.
First of all, and I said, I put this out on my Facebook the night of the convention. I want Dana White to introduce me just one time.
I know that was incredible too.
He first of all, he's a fight promoter, and if anybody, you're talking about a Don King level fight promoter, and Don King was fantastic at promoting fights. But he came out and introduced Trump as if he were getting into the ring. I mean, it was fantastic, and I said, I don't care if it's me walking into a Buc-ee's bathroom or me walking into a service call. I want Dana White to kick the door open and say, "Get ready for the greatest HVAC guy in the world," and have him do an introduction for me just once.
Yep, I thought he did a good job with that.
Oh no, he was fantastic, and calling him a tough SOB and all that stuff. No, he was fantastic. But his Trump's speech started off fantastic. It was humble. He spoke about and look. He had the speech written and then the assassination attempt, and he ripped up the speech and rewrote it. I thought the opening of the speech, when he talked about that, when he talked about the firefighter who lost his life being a hero and throwing his body and protecting his wife and daughter, and he called people by name, something that Joe Biden can't do, and he said, I called them personally, the two that were in critical condition at the time. I called them personally. They're doing well. I called the widow and talked to her and expressed my condolences and said what a hero he is. I thought the beginning
was really good.
Yeah, the first 20 of the 93 minutes was really good.
He lost me after about 20 minutes, so I went to sleep. Trump is known for this. If you've ever been to one of his rallies, he starts off really strong, and then he'll talk for about 45 minutes, and it's entertaining. But I don't know about you, David, I don't like listening to politicians talk anyway that much. And I think he could have done a lot better job if he would have kept his remarks to 20, 25 minutes, hit the high points, and moved on.
He could have ended it right there.
Yeah, 93 minutes is way too long for any speech.
When he got done talking about the attempt on his life and all that, and say, I humbly accept the nomination by my party, something like that.
Yeah, he turned it into a rally where he talked for another hour. Yep.
Yeah, he could have capped it at 30 minutes.
Yeah, it was long.
That leaves an entire 63 minutes of... I don't mind listening to political speeches, but yeah, it wore on.
It also gives the left-wing media, when you talk for that long, they pick stuff out. And I cut CNN or something on this morning. And when you talk that long, you say stuff that may or may not be, maybe a little exaggeration, right? And it just gives so much more ammo for the media to start picking apart what you're saying. You need to make it real crisp, clear, and short, and not give the media all this ammo to use against you.
And you're right. That's exactly what it does.
Yep.
It's exactly what it does. All right. So we have the
biggest...
Hold
on. Before we move on real quick, did you see what the Facebook founder, Mark Zuckerberg, said about Donald Trump's reaction? The media is flipping out about this. He said last week that seeing Donald Trump get up after getting shot in the face and pump his fist in the air with the American flag is one of the most badass things I've ever seen in my life, the CEO said. And he said, on some level, as an American, it's hard to not get kind of emotional about that spirit and that fight. And I think that's why a lot of people like him. People are losing their mind over Mark Zuckerberg saying that.
Elon Musk came out for him.
Yeah, Elon said he was giving him $45 million a month for the rest of the election cycle. That's a lot of money.
It's a huge amount of money.
Yep.
Look, I wouldn't give him $45 a month until the election. I mean,
No.
but I also thought that the donations going to the victims, raising $6 million,
Yeah, that was a good thing. Yep.
is amazing, and he could have ended it right there.
Yep. Could have.
Is when he pulled that $1 million check out of his coat pocket, and says, you know, and he calls the guy by his first name. Obviously didn't expose who he was. Didn't violate any privacy thing. But he held this check up, and talked about the money that these victims are getting, especially the widow, can never replace her husband.
Yep.
But it's something for her to know that the nation appreciates, you know, that fact that he was a hero and all that stuff. And I thought that really hit home. And he could have ended the speech right there, and had the crowd would be roaring.
Yep.
The Trump granddaughter talked, and we talked about it before we started recording. She was for a 17-year-old to be that composed.
Yeah, she was good.
I didn't really, I was never really afraid of public speaking. You know, I did debate and took speech in school and all that stuff. But as a 17-year-old, if my adrenaline started going, I would deliver the speech too fast. I would talk too fast, and that's something that a lot of inexperienced speakers happens to them, is they start rushing through their speech. And she was absolutely composed. For a 17-year-old, that's amazing.
Yep. All right, now we can move on.
Yeah, we have the biggest IT outage in history, I guess.
It was in history, yeah.
Flights were grounded. I think Bank of America was hit by it.
Yeah, it really hit Europe pretty hard too. This was U.S. This was last Friday when we woke up, but there was a global crisis triggered when a company called CrowdStrike deployed a faulty software update to computers running Microsoft Windows overnight. And this, if you ever seen the blue screen of death, that's what we called it back in the day, where your computer just freezes up and you got that blue screen. That's what occurred. And around 2 a.m. last Friday morning, there was a stop, you know, of any plane taking off. Planes were in the air already. They had to bring some of them down, and it affected people worldwide, big time.
Yeah, I mean, last Friday I was watching the news, and they were in the Atlanta airport, the busiest airport in the world, I think, if not the world, the country for sure. I am very thankful that this was not the week I was trying to get away and fly to Buffalo. And I'm sure you feel incredibly blessed to be back. To be back on U.S. soil before that failure.
Yep.
I mean, not that you wouldn't move down to Costa Rica in a heartbeat, but waiting in the airport is miserable.
Look, this just shows you how quick, though, that some event like this now, because what's happened with the internet is we've become one global system, right? There's not a U.S. internet. There's not a Russia internet. There's not a China internet. This is one big system that's run by a bunch of computers. And if anything like this happens, it can shut down the entire computer grid and the grid out there. And it's really scary to think about that we can go down so quick, and it'll be such a large scale. You know, just one security update can shut the entire world down almost overnight. It's scary to think about.
I think the number that I saw, Delta by itself had 837 or something like that delayed flights. A couple hundred canceled.
Jeez, that's a lot.
That's what people don't understand is those flights have to happen. So even if you're not affected, if you're in Idaho, whatever, you can't get on that flight because the metal you need to be on is stuck in Atlanta.
Yep.
So the ripple effect when it comes to air travel, you know, people think, well, why don't you just get another airplane? Well, they don't keep multi-billion-dollar pieces of equipment just sitting around as a spare. So when you have an interruption on one coast, Atlanta, New York, doesn't matter. It affects things on the West Coast because they can't put people on an airplane that's stuck on the East Coast.
Yep, those things have to run. You know, whenever you fly anywhere, I like looking to see where the plane's coming from. I mean, these planes, like, if you just fly from Atlanta to Miami, that plane may have come from San Francisco, going to Atlanta, hops down to Miami. It may go from Miami then down to the Caribbean somewhere. And I mean, these planes are hopping all over the world in in a day. So like you said, there's not just planes sitting around up in Atlanta. They can just pull out of service or pull into service and just queue people up.
Yeah, I mean, we've become so dependent on this technology that you're right. It takes one glitch. And was this a test? I have no idea. They say it was a bad update.
Yeah, they say it's a bad update. Who knows what the real story is? I tend to believe what they say in this regard. I don't believe the Trump assassination stuff. I think there's some all kind of crazy stuff behind that. But I tend to think this was just being in technology. I think this was probably a bad update that caused a problem that they had to remedy. And it takes a while to push updates back out.
Well, speaking of apocalypses, Costco is selling survival food, buckets of survival food.
I know, it's pretty funny after that last story, right? Yeah, but Costco's serving what they call the ReadyWise Emergency Food Bucket, which has 150 freeze-dried and dehydrated meal servings. It's got a price tag of $80, so it's about 50 cents for each of these containers. But it boasts that this provides readiness in the face of uncertainty. It's got 80 entrees and sides, 30 breakfast servings, 40 drink servings, and lasts up to 25 years. So for $80, you can buy 150 freeze-dried meals that last 25 years.
And look, I've got a couple months worth of beans and rice, vacuum sealed in my basement.
Yeah, it's smart to do that.
It sits right next to my gun safe. Because they're both important. One to defend life, one to sustain it. And my wife was asking me about it, and I said, I can always go and kill meat, whether go fishing or kill a squirrel or anything else. I said, it's the other staples that you need to survive. You have to have, sorry, Dr. Atkins, you have to have carbohydrates to survive.
I need less.
Well, yeah, me too. I need less in my daily life, but there's enough for Connie and me that we can survive for more than a month on what we have, and if we ration it, we can survive for a couple months. Now, do I anticipate that being an issue? No, but is it important to? It's sort of like having insurance. You don't anticipate getting an accident, but you certainly don't want to have one without insurance.
Yep, true.
So, Georgia Democrats are suing to overturn the law allowing unlimited campaign cash.
Oh, it's hard for me to agree with something that Democrats do, but actually I agree with them on this. So I've talked about this at length before on the show. Back in 2019, when I was in office on the last day of session, Governor Kemp dropped a bill that would create these leadership PACs for the governor, lieutenant governor, and Speaker of the House. It was only like 5 or 6 different people. And they tried to run this bill through in the last hour of the session in 2019. And what this does is it creates these, what they call leadership PACs, that people can, I think they can donate up to $25,000 into these PACs without having any reporting on it. And they're actually unlimited. So they tried to rush it through in 2019. People found out about it and we pushed back. We did the same thing in 2020. We pushed back on it. And then as soon as the more conservative-leaning members of the House left in 2021, this bill, I think, passed on the first day of session. And what it's enabled, it's a good thing right now. But I don't think it's a good thing at all, because then it allows these political candidates to raise money without having to tell people where it's coming from. And normal legislators like state reps can't. They have to report everything, and then they have limits on them. So this lawsuit aims to overturn that law, which in this case, I think is a good thing.
It's one of the reasons that I donate $101 to my state reps. 101.
Anything over 100, you have to file. Yep.
Has to be filed for.
And see, these leadership PACs are not like that. But these leadership PACs, if you wanted to give it to Governor Kemp in his leadership PAC, it would be invisible at that point.
I don't like the limits on the state reps raising money, and I'll tell you why. To me, money is a form of political speech. If I donate, and the reason I do 101 is I want my name to show up, and I want people to see that David Roberts supports this person. And that's a de facto endorsement. I want people to see that, and I think having to disclose where the money comes from is very important. It goes back to a joke that's been around for 30 years about politicians should have to wear jackets like NASCAR drivers so you can see where the money came from. I think as a private citizen, I should be able to donate as much as I want to Ken Pullen for Pike County.
Okay,
there shouldn't be a limit on it because that's political speech.
And look, I totally agree with you. So, and this is why I have a problem with a leadership PAC. In a perfect world, I think money is speech, and I think I should be able to give unlimited amounts of money, like you just said, to any political candidate that I want to give it to. And I don't think there should be any reporting laws around that, because again, I think money is speech. And if I talk to a political candidate, they don't have to report that we had a conversation. This is not a perfect world, though, and there's already limitations on state reps and state senators and even local candidates. So if they're having to abide by these limits and they're having to abide by the reporting law and the reporting that the law suggests, where they have to put Dave Roberts' name down if they give $101, then I think the governor should have that same responsibility. And I think the lieutenant governor should have that same responsibility. So that's my problem with this, is we're treating about 4 or 5 people at the state level different than we're treating every other elected candidate in Georgia. So I see both sides of this. Perfect world, I agree. Give as much as you want. But this is not a perfect world, and we shouldn't just put our governor up on a pedestal and say, you can have this leadership PAC over there that can raise unlimited amounts of money into it. Because if the governorship flips and Stacey Abrams is up there, I guarantee you Georgia Republicans would be suing to get that law overturned also.
And look, there are ways around. What's the limit on state reps? Is it still 2,500?
33 now.
33. So I can donate 33. Connie can donate 33. Dr. Cool can donate 33, and that's $10,000 just out of my household.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And if you have kids, you can donate in their names.
Yeah, right.
And get around that. So from that aspect, I could donate on behalf of my nephews.
I just don't like the double standard here. That's my biggest problem with this. And I actually think the judge in this case, I think it's going to be overturned. I don't think the law was good in the first place, and I think they're going to say the governor has to adhere to the same reporting and same rules that state reps and state senators have. I think this law gets overturned.
Campaign finance reform is why we have PACs, because it's a way around it.
It is, but the PACs can't coordinate with candidates, and that's why. So I think they're going to look at this as a PAC and say you can't have a PAC and coordinate. So I think it gets overturned, but we'll see. It'll take a little while for this to get through the court system.
Yeah, it's going to take a little while to wash out like anything else. Yep. Now, this is a good time to remind you that these are our opinions and not those of anyone not on the show or any respective company for which we may work, own, or otherwise associate ourselves with on a regular or irregular basis. Also, you can find other episodes and relevant stories of thegeorgiavirtue.com. Kenneth, you have the mule.
This is too easy. It's Joy Reid. She's one of the MSNBC hosts. She was talking last Wednesday with Jen Psaki, who was the former White House press secretary. What they were saying is they said Trump attending the Republican National Convention 48 hours after an assassination attempt in Pennsylvania was seen as a sign of strength. And then she said, well, Joe Biden just got diagnosed with COVID-19 on Wednesday. If he recovers and resumes campaigning, shouldn't that be a strength of show as well? Or a show of strength as well? So she's comparing Trump coming back a couple days after being an assassination attempt on his life to Biden coming back after having COVID-19.
Yeah, and I tell you, Trump took my advice about the bandage on the ear because that thing was huge.
It was big.
It was the size of a piece of loose leaf paper. This is idiotic. I've had COVID. I've never been shot, and I never want to be shot.
Yeah, me either. Me either.
The difference between the two, it's a different thing. Does it show?
Oh, totally different thing. I mean,
does it show strength to come back from COVID? Sure.
Yes, but not the same way you're coming back after somebody almost put a bullet through the middle of your brain.
Yeah, I mean, half an inch one way or the other.
Yes,
and it's over.
And knowing that when you go back out and speak the next time, I don't know if it'll be in the back of Trump's mind, but it would be in the back of my mind. I'd be looking around the next time I hopped up on a stage that somebody was going to try to do it again. So you can't even compare these two things. And Joy Reid, she also picked on Trump's granddaughter this week and said she shouldn't have been up there talking to the public. She was just a whole host. She had a whole host of bad takes this week. But it's amazing MSNBC keeps her on. She is just low IQ. And comparing COVID-19 with a potential assassination attempt, it's just outrageous.
Yeah, and look, the picture is iconic, and it will make its way into history of him with blood on his face, raising his fist with the American flag behind him, and all that stuff. You could not have picked a better way to do. Look, the shooter, and I'm not going to use his name because screw him. The shooter just put him into the White House.
Yes, I agree.
And first of all, at 130 yards, I can make that shot. But to compare the two of having your body invaded by a bullet versus what for most people is a case of the flu.
Yeah,
we have so many antivirals. It's a case of the flu.
Yep.
I had it, much later. Coming back from Greece, probably in the airplane that got it, being in a tube full of recirculated air. But I had a much easier time than my wife did. We're different blood types, so oddly enough, that comes into play because I'm type O positive, and type O's tend to do better than other blood types with it. But on a personal level, I certainly don't want COVID to knock Biden out. And please God, don't knock him out and put Harris in.
Oh, no, geez. That'd be terrible.
So California goes further anti-parent.
Yeah, this actually caused a big stink last week. Elon Musk was the first one that really came out and started talking about this. I saw it on Twitter. He actually said he was going to move SpaceX out of California over this law into Texas. But last week, California became the first state to bar school districts from requiring their staff to notify parents of their child's gender identification change under a new law signed by Gavin Newsom. So basically, the law bans school from requiring teachers and staff to disclose a student's gender, identity, or sexual orientation to any other person without the child's permission. So if a child comes to school, says they're a girl or a boy, or they're having, issues, blah, 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 that teacher cannot tell the parent under this law.
You need to know if your kid is mentally ill.
You do.
And honestly, transgenderism in most of its forms is a mental illness. In fact, if you want to get the surgery to have an addictomy or take a dick from me, it's you're supposed to go to a psychologist and they diagnose you with body dysmorphia. It's the same illness that we have with people with eating disorders. Is they view themselves as what they are not. Yep. And a dude can say, I'm a girl all the time, but no one is actually trying to dig into what in life has made you feel this way.
I know what you have out in California is in these liberal school systems. You have teachers in the classroom propagating LGBTQ plus information, and they are trying to transition these kids and get these kids confused about what their gender identity is. And this new law says if a kid flips, is confused, and now says they're a little girl, no one at that school can tell the parents that little Johnny is now little Janie. which is just crazy to me to think that they had to pass, or they thought this was a good idea to pass a law like this.
Oh, this was in response to other laws around the country. This was a protest law that they passed.
It was. Yep.
Because other states are saying that you have to involve parents in this.
I think you should. I mean, my wife's a teacher. I think if one of her little kids comes to school and says he's now a girl, and I think the teacher should have a discussion with that parent to say, this is what's going on, because they've got the kids 7 hours a day. I think the teacher should have a conversation with the parent just to ensure they know what's going on. I don't have any problem with that.
Well, especially in the case that the people that are supportive of trans rights, and I'm not unsupportive of anybody's rights, but people who are pushing this agenda say if you don't support this kid with their transition, they have a higher level of suicide. So if that is the case, shouldn't parents know that they need to be looking for signs of depression and suicidal tendencies?
I know.
Kids are property. Until they turn 18, they are property.
Yes. Kids don't have any rights before they turn 18, not with their parents.
Right. Exactly right. Unless they get emancipated, which you don't see very often outside of Hollywood. But kids are property, and you have the right to know what's going on with your property.
Yep.
And it'd be up to the parents to say, okay, and in California, there'd probably be plenty of parents like, okay, well, I support this, but you should be able to say, okay, there's something going on. Let me find out what's going on. Let me get little Johnny into therapy and figure out what's going on. Under the hood there, what's going on with his brain.
Yep, I agree.
And it's insulting to parents to say, "Oh, well, we're not going to tell you about it." So Johnny's
we're not going to tell you anything that's going on at school.
Yeah, Johnny's going to leave the house in blue jeans and a shirt, and then get to school and change into a skirt.
Yep, that could happen, 100%.
And it's not that I don't hate these kids. I want them to get help. And if they truly are, if that's who they truly are, fine. Come up with a plan after 18 to transition from a boy to a girl or girl to a boy. But we shouldn't be encouraging this with, what's the age of a high school freshman? 14, 15?
Yeah, ninth grade. You're 14, turning 15 usually.
So you're not even old enough to have consensual sex. In the state of Georgia, I think it's 16. When you enter high school, you're not allowed to make that decision for yourself legally, but you can decide to start taking hormones and alter your appearance and your sexual function for the rest of your life at 14 years old, where you can't even get a tattoo at 14.
Yep, exactly.
So we're okay with giving a young lady massive amounts of testosterone and mutilating her body, but she doesn't have the right to she doesn't have the right to go out and have sex because she's below the age of consent.
Yep.
The two of those just don't jive to me. All right, Kenneth, as we're coming to the end here, you have any closing thoughts?
Nah, it's just going to be interesting to see what happens over the next week with Biden. The DNC convention is coming up really soon. So if he's going to step back or Democrats are going to do something, it's got to be really soon. I was just looking for the convention. It's actually August 19th to 22nd. So they do have a month to go, but it's coming up real soon. So they either got the proverbial poop or get off the pot, one or the other.
Well, you need time to raise money.
Yes, that too.
And we were, one of the previous stories talked about money and politics, but money is politics. And when you start running for national office, you start putting together a war chest. And in this case, I mean, I'm sure Gavin Newsom has some money in his war chest, but not national election money. So that would make anybody else's job very, very, very difficult to raise enough money to be able to compete in the race, unless Biden were to gift over what's in his war chest. And that would be difficult. I also don't think he has the humility to do it. So if you like what you heard, please like and share us on the social medias. I want to give a big thanks to Eric Hamby, who takes our audio and turns it into something you can listen to. Big thanks to Ken Pullen. I'm sure a much more tan Ken Pullen, a partner's endeavor. I'm Dave Roberts. Have a great week.
Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.